Peace, love, and light. I'm still in the kitchen cooking on these nachos, vegan nachos. But I wanted to turn up the IQ. I wanted to turn it up in here. Intelligence quotient. I've been watching this brother 19 Keys since he first came out with High Level Conversation. Actually, a little bit before that because I wanted to know about crypto. However, all of a sudden it seemed like I just wasn't seeing the crypto, and he just had this high level conversations. Like the first one I seen with him and Dame, it was like a movie to me. It was like the first time I had ever seen a power for intellectuals, stuff that make us think. And I consistently stay updated. Now, some of them be super long, like you gotta really be prepared because it's not just a regular podcast. It's really a high level conversation. So I just wanna play a new video of his, Secrets of the Ankh, Ancient Kemetic Revelations, Story of the Gods, and Ma'at Principles. Let's see what he's talking about. I'm gonna dig in there, no diddy, to kind of sum it up. I'm just here to break the food down for y'all. Usually he gives introductions, like long ones, so.
Religions in the world and all spiritual groups, right? And, you know, there's a saying Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, settle on the best part, right? And people ask me a lot, like, or you always ask me as well, you know, how is it that you have interest in all of these other areas, being that you're a Muslim? And I believe that one's belief system or way of life is not a limiting thing, right? If anything, it should be a guidance to understanding all of the world.
That's
right. And so for me,
that was a great question. Actually, rewind it.
Living a way of life or studying a practice of a way of life and getting master teachers from a master teacher gives you a third eye, gives you a view lens where now you have a North Star, you have a compass to where you can go in. And what I see in this generation a lot of times is we pick up the diverse interpretations of everything in the world, right? Some people want to be a Buddhist, you want to be a spiritual person, you want to be Kemetic, you want to be Muslim, you want to be everything, right? Without mastering anything, right? And so it's like a person with 1,000 destinations. They don't know where to actually go, right? So you need to know where you are to know where you go, right? You need to know where you came from, right? And so for me, it's about giving direction. Right? A generation that I feel is lost in trying to find themselves in every text, in every tweet, in every TikTok, in every Instagram or YouTube. No, we have to first build foundation, right? And from that foundation of principles and true understanding, then that can give you guidance, right?
No doubt.
Message.
Now, the history of the Ankh, right? We see the Ankh everywhere. Like Lord London, she had it in the movie You People. Right, we see everybody's wearing ankhs of all different, you know, lifestyles, ways of life, but most people couldn't tell you what the ankh actually means.
That's true.
So, you know, from the Baba of the Ankh, can we get your history? First of all, how did you begin to take on the Ankh and bring it into North America, right? What's your history and connection to it?
Oh boy, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Well, to begin with, my beloved father, James Wilkinson Hjorhes, or Georges as known in English, he was the one who said to me, he was a Christian minister with the Apostolic Faith Church, and of course I spent most of my childhood in the church, 3 days a week, but my father would say to me, when I would go to his tailor shop after school to do the buttonholes and the overcasting of the inseams of trousers, he would say, you know, son, I'm in this house of my brother Shem, but I'm really from the house of Ham. That's how he was taught in the Bible. And he said, we need to study because if the Bible says honor your mother and your father, that your days may be long on the earth, I need to study Ham. He said, you know, you look like that little boy they call King Tut. My father, he was a teenager when they found the resting place of Aten Ra, Tutank. That's the way his name was actually spelled. As a matter of fact, that's the way he was born, with Aten Ra, which means the sun, Tut, the image of Ankh, the image of life itself. That's what his name represents. Later, of course, he changed his name to Amen, Tutank, to honor the hidden aspect of the spirit. So we have Aten Ra, which is the revealed light of our present day sun, and then we have the Amen, which is the hidden aspect. Ra itself is the hidden sun, the sun behind our sun that we see in the sky every day. So as I began to study more, and he told me specifically to study about this little boy who was crowned king at the age of 9, and of course expired around the age of 18 or 19. They said
19.
Yes, they said he may have fallen off a chariot or some palace intrigue that he may have been murdered. But he said I should study as much as I can about him, and it would lead me to discover the beauty of this ancient culture. And he was very insistent about that because he had joined the Marcus Garvey movement in San Pedro de Macorís in the Caribbean island of Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that.
He said to me that I should study
right
as much as I can, and that's what I have done. And it stayed with me as I grew up. And finally, I met a man while pounding the beat in East New York. I used to stop into the store, Juan Vega's store, a jewelry store, and I used to tell Juan how I want to learn how to trabajo en la plata, how to work silver. He said, oh, you come here one Saturday and I will introduce you to the man. And I walked in one day, and there this gentleman walked in. He was about 52 years old, Anacleto Santiago de Colón, and he introduced himself. He said, Jimmy, you want to learn the joyeria? I said, yes. He said, well, I have a house in Williamsburg. You come down there and I will teach you whatever you want to know. He used to work in the jewelry center at 47th Street here in New York, where you have the largest jewelry district. And but he had a full shop in his basement, and I would go there. And for 1 year, I was his apprentice. But he would not let me do anything. He said, just watch me, take notes. It wasn't until he had quit his job, and one Friday, and he was going to come in that Monday because we had found the space. And he said, oh, by the way, he says, you want to be my partner? I said, you think I'm qualified enough? He says, I think so, and I will show you even more. So we found a place over in the Bowery, and we started. That weekend, on that Sunday, he left his job that Friday, and that Monday he was going to come in full time. And he said to me, he said, we're going to do very well. He said, because I see you have good hands, because he brought me the tools by which I could sculpt in miniature. And so I said, fine. And that Sunday, I got a call from his beloved queen, his beloved wife. Anacleto se murió, that he had died. He had a heart condition. And he kept telling me, he said, I don't have time for you to do anything. Just listen and watch everything I do. And it wasn't until I came back from the interment, his funeral, that I casted my very first piece. I was sculpting a lion's buckle. And when I put it in the oven after the wax melted away, because we were using the lost wax process, which you can Google that, what the lost wax process is. That's how a lot of the jewelry is made today. And it was amazing how, when I saw the ears of the lion coming out of the investment, I said, oh my God, I can do this. And I dropped to my knees and I thanked his spirit for giving me these tools by which I could use to help to awaken my people. Because I realized that in addition to knowing about the history, I had to produce something from the inspiration of this history. And because of the fact that I noticed that people were wearing different emblems, and my family would say, you have to give the people what they want. I said, no, well, I think I'm going to give them what they need if it kills me. If I go broke, so be it, but I'm going to give them what they need. They need emblems of our culture because we need to walk around and be teachers. Each one teach one, as Alma John would say. She was the first registered nurse in Harlem Hospital, and she received an Ankh, by the way. And so it was my duty to bring this key forth because I noticed on the temple walls that our ancestors were always carrying this key, holding it by the feminine principle here. All the kings, the queens, and all the nobles were carrying the Ankh. And so I said, well, I think it's time we start to carry it again. And so, of course, at the time I was a police officer, and I was, I don't like to say police officer because that brings a memory of the slave catchers.
Yeah.
I prefer to see myself as a peace officer.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did. I brought the peace to the beat, and I love to walk the beat, to talk to the people. And I got some pushback for that because I spent too much time talking to the people.
Right.
I said, well, if you're going to...
And you was wearing your Ankh?
On over my handcuff case.
So you was wearing your Ankh, and did they didn't like that, or did they care?
No, I was psychologically tested.
How so?
Well, because I kept on wearing it because they said it was not part of the uniform.
Right.
And I said, well, so they had me go down to for a psychological test. And when I walked in, I threw the Ankh on top of the table. I think it chipped the surgeon's table. And he says, what's that? I said, oh, that's why I'm here, because I carry this. He said, can I touch it? He picked it up from the table. I said, of course, go ahead. He said, you did this? I said, yes, sir. He said, oh, that explains it. You're an artist, and everybody knows artists are different. He says, get out of here. He says, now I have to have whoever sent you down here to be brought down here to be tested, because they should know there's an artist, you are going to express yourself in a free way. And that's how I was able to then carry it. Of course, I did not make a big deal of quote, disobeying the command of my superior officers, but the fact is that I still carried this Ankh because I felt a balanced life, and I got the instrument of death, which I never used in all the 20 years I was on there. I don't like guns at all, but I know that that's how some people are rolling these days, so I prefer to carry this key.
And that's powerful of a story. First of all, just in the sense that when we see the symbols out today, the knowledge that's out here today, you know, the information, there's a backstory to how it got here. And there was somebody who had to push and persevere, in order to deliver this information, right? Like, you know, I'm well aware of the ability now to wear the crown, but there's a, you know, long history before 19 keys, right? Like, so people outwardly wear the Ankh and there's no pushback, there's no issue now. But when it was people like yourself in the 60s, when you was wearing the Ankh, that symbol had not been known and it was foreign to the mind, right? And, you know, anything that was, you know, not traditional, you know, Catholicism or Christianity, right, was always opposed. And so I find that interesting because a lot of people don't know to recognize our elders for the privileges that we have today, which some people, you know, may take for granted because you don't think about like, damn, I get to wear my symbol, but, you know, who wore it first, right? What did they go through to where I can now be comfortable and it's normalized, right? And so as we talk about this key, you know, what does the Ankh mean?
Well, to make it quite short, it's just a word in the Metuneter, now known as hieroglyphics. It's a word for life. Because it honors first the divine feminine principle. It honors the divine children, the divine father, you see. In our culture, Nut, heaven, is feminine. Geb, earth, is masculine. And the children, holy daughter or son, is the product of that comes out of the womb through the seed of the father. Now there's many different interpretations because as many of our people confront this divine key, their ancestral memory kicks in. So they have different definitions of what this...
Ancestral memory?
Yes. Hereditary
ancestral memory?
It's
by your, I know my understanding of it, but by your definition of, just the term ancestral memory with people, like, because symbols are very powerful. I just talked about this, episode with Joey Badass, because he had some symbols, and, I wear my symbols. But like I said, symbols create a feeling in the subconscious, an inner knowing. It can, create a enlightenment in the mind just by seeing certain symbols and having a connection between what's in your DNA. And you may not know it, but you intuitively and instinctively have an understanding built into your genes.
That's right.
And so that's powerful when we look at that symbol today.
Not to cut your wisdom, brother, but I just wanted to, excuse me, y'all, these nachos are good. Let me show y'all real quick. Vegan nachos. Anyways, I just wanted to throw some game y'all way, throw some jewels y'all way. I wanted to share with you people who I watch. People always asking me certain questions like, how'd I do this? Dang, you know this, or, et cetera, et cetera. And that's because I stay feeding my mental high level, I stay feeding my mental high level information. It's high level by the way that it makes you feel. The more of the struggle the more of the pressure when you run into a truth, the better, because that's just the cracking of the ego. Peace, love, and light. Until next time.